All of us know what kind of havoc is being caused by the monsoon in various parts of our country. Moral hazards are the ones which indicate the dangers that are related to the character integrity. People have an intention at the back of the mind. What if I can cheat the insurance company and make money out of it? What are all the factors, how it has to be involved? Then it becomes easy for the insurance company to go forward. Good morning and welcome to the session 4 in Unit 4, Principles and Practice of General Insurance, where we are going to talk about the moral and physical hazards. Now, the first thing is that insurance itself is going to talk about handling of hazards. That's why we go in for a backup, we go in for some emergency purpose there. So insurance hazard means the conditions or the situations that are likely to increase the chance of a loss arising from a peril. Now, why do we use this word peril altogether? Now, we need to understand here, whenever we are talking about a hazard condition, that means there is a situation, there is a chance that, there might be a loss that is arising because of some kind of exigency, some kind of disaster that might happen altogether. Now, let's look at the business of aviation, or when you look into the business of marine, or when you look into the business of oil or petroleum, the hazard is very, very high. The risk factors are higher in these kind of business. So what happens here is that the insurance hazard, the chances, the probability of risk factors that are involved in this situation, that are involved in this kind of business is very high for the insurance company to take. So they will definitely look in for a valuation. They will first see what are all the risk and emergency factors that are associated with that business, and then they will get into that particular activity. So now what happens here is that there are two types of insurance hazards that we are talking about. One is the physical hazards of insurance. Second is the moral hazards of the insurance. So two factor. One, we are going to talk about the physical factors, the externals, the moral factors that are concerned with the policies, the internal factors of the insurance. Now, moving further, physical hazards indicate those dangers of subject matter of insurance which can be ascertained or identified by the mere inspection of the risk factor. The moment you look into a situation, you look into a business, you are able to identify, you are able to tell that this is the hazard. These are the challenges. This is why I am looking into this business. So moment, let's say that you are going to look into a restaurant. You know where the challenges are. The risk in a restaurant is more in the kitchen area rather than the serving area. Why? Because in the dining area, the possibility of an incident happening is likely lesser than of an incident happening in the areas of the kitchen or in the cooking area. The reason is that there is a fire, there is a flame there, you can lead to any kind of outburst, and there can be a danger to the life of the people working in that area. So similarly, moment we use this physical hazard, we are talking about those dangers that can be easily identified by a mere inspection. Just by looking at it, you will be able to tell it. So you don't have to do a great amount of evaluation or calculation itself. Moment you look into it, apparently there is an hazard that is involved. So now, for example, let's even look into the real estate, construction, mining, and all those kind of business. Inherently, there is some kind of risk that is involved. Why? Heavy machinery are used, excavators are being used, or you will also be seeing that the work of JCB or any kind of heavy machinery or loads of steel, iron, cement, all these kinds of material can cause a physical hazard to the people working there. Similarly, people working at great heights or people working with glass, people working with hazardous chemicals, inflammable materials, these are all the physical hazards that will come into the mind of the company, mind of the insurance company immediately at looking at it. So the hazards are apparent to the subject matter itself. So why I say this is because moment you look into the subject, it is inbuilt. You cannot separate the risk from the business. It is inbuilt in it. But then people want to do the business because they understand the risk. They want to take the risk, and out of the risk, they want to generate the reward. So that's why I say that those hazards are apparently subject matter itself. They are by themselves the factor that is involved there. The dangers are visible from the very nature of construction situation of the subject matter. So the very nature of the business, moment you go and tell it, people are worried, people know that that's a dangerous kind of activity that is involved in it. The next one of an example which I would like to show you here is the nature of the cargo. Now, for example, when I'm talking about a fragile nature of cargo like fish, egg, or a glass item, or a phone item, electronics, all these things are very fragile in nature. So if you are involved in the logistics factor of carrying or delivering these kind of goods, then automatically you are subjected to a physical hazard. So now what will happen is that in case if there is going to be a damage, in case there are going to be some challenges, in case there is going to be some breakage or any other kind of factor, then we are going to talk about this damages or this kind of hazard factor. We need to provide a lot of insurance for this kind of business. Followed by the quality of packing of goods. Bad quality creates more losses. Now that's also inborn inside. Why? Because moment we talk about the packing nature, you need to be even more careful in terms of packing this goods, even more careful in terms of loading and unloading. So all those kind of factors will matter in terms of the insurance. Suppose the nature of packing involved is very simple, or the nature of packing involved has not taken into the precautions factor, automatically that can lead to a severe damage and the claim of insurance can go up. So all these things have to be calculated by the insurance company before awarding insurance to that particular organization. Followed by, now the voyage itself might be hazardous, particularly during the monsoon period in our country. All of us know what kind of havoc is being caused by the monsoon in various parts of our country. Now, if there are people who are involved in the logistics business, they are also subjected to all the weather and harsh conditions. So suppose a vehicle gets stuck in a flood, or the vehicle is completely washed away by the water, or the vehicle is subjected to a landslide, then the insurance company has to bear the risk factor of that. Similarly, the nature, construction, age, classification, and condition of a vessel. So when we are talking about a ship, automatically is the ship an old ship or a new ship? What kind of machinery? What kind of people are involved in that ship? How is the steering capacity? What is the cargo carrying capacity of the vehicle? Now, for example, if the vehicle is a very old vehicle, or the vessel is something which is very, very old shape, when I say the ship is in a very bad shape, or the ship is considered to be unseaworthy condition, that means the risk that is involved with the ship is on the higher level. So most of the organizations, that is the insurance organizations, will first make an assessment about the ship itself, try to find out what level of construction, what level of risk are involved. Is it good enough right now to make that ship sail? Is the ship capable of carrying the cargo? Will the ship be able to weather all conditions and deliver the goods as promised? So with all those factors only, the insurance will be provided. If the ship is prone to get into accidents, if the ship is prone to get into any kind of incidental factor, then the LICs or any of the insurance companies, what I'm talking about, any marine insurance, any of the insurance companies will not come forward because they find this would be much more dangerous for them. Followed by the moral hazards. Moral hazards are the ones which indicate the dangers that are related to the character, integrity, mental attitude of the insured. These are not visible, but then you come to know across over a period of time by getting them into an inspection, by getting them into the aspects of business altogether. Now, what exactly is a moral hazard? People have an intention at the back of the mind. What if I can cheat the insurance company and make money out of it? Now, this is something where I have the intention of doing something wrong and I want to carry on that message from a point A to point B, which means I would like to carry people with me in terms of making that mistake, in terms of going forward in doing that particular business. Now, the insurance company will initially trust me. They believe me, stating that yes, what I am doing is correct, stating that what I am doing is possibly the right thing. But then after some time, they come to know that my intention in this business was to cheat the company and create a problem. So what happens here is that I go further and I destroy the reputation. It becomes very, very important for the insurance company that when they trust you, when they put you on the good books, you need to maintain that reputation. But if you go other ways and try to create a problem for the insurance company, you try to cheat them, you try to provide them all the false book of accounts, you try to cheat them by providing wrong information, automatically the risk of providing insurance, the moral risk of providing insurance starts going up, by which the entire company can probably land up in trouble or even a serious loss altogether. That's why most of the insurance company wants to do a detailed investigation about the company, about the person, the owners and the stakeholders in terms of providing insurance. Why? Because this is their duty, this is their basic level understanding, whether it is possible, whether it is feasible enough for them in terms of understanding the business and then taking it forward. If they are not able to understand, if they are not able to decipher the nature and kind of business that has been spoken about, then we will not be able to provide insurance on a timely basis altogether. Followed by, this in fact refer to the behavior and attitude of the insured or their employees towards the subject matter of insurance from the viewpoint of encouraging or discouraging the causation of an insured event. Now, this is very, very important. Why? Because whenever we are talking about the employee attitude, behavior of the organization towards the insurance company, that would be definitely evaluated, that would be definitely looked upon. Why? Because the insurance company wants to understand this factor clearly as what is the nature and the scope of work and the behavior that the employees carry towards their respective work area. Now, this is very, very important because suppose for an insured event, suppose for a particular activity, the employees as well as the management show complete carelessness. They are not at all interested. They do not want to see any kind of interest towards that work. They are not serious about that nature of work. Then why would the insurance company take the risk of insuring that particular activity? They would think that there is a risk that is inherently involved. There is a risk which is very, very serious here. The company itself does not want to take up the job, so it would not be feasible for us to provide a backup for this kind of incident. So in that nature, in every risk, an element of moral hazard which is varying in nature, which is varying in degree, is always present. So we have to be very, very careful as to the nature, as to the factor, how the risk is involved, how the assessment is being done on time, and based on that, you will be able to calculate, you will be able to see the nature of risk and the insurance to be provided. Now, there might be an example of a first-class moral hazard where the insured gives the maximum cooperation to the insurers by materializing their suggestions aimed at the risk. Now, what happens here is that moment you are able to give a complete picture, a clear picture to the insurance company stating what are all the factors, how it has to be involved, then it becomes easy for the insurance company to go forward and give you insurance. But then if you are not giving cooperation, if you are not ready to give the details properly, if you are not able to suggest things properly, then automatically the insurance company will not be able to give you proper insurance, proper coverage on time. Followed by examples of moral hazard. Carelessness, as I have told you, is the cause of most of the accidents that take place when the insured behaves carelessly, unsatisfactorily. The moral hazards are bound to happen. Why do I refer this word again and again? The reason is very, very clear. Why? Because if the nature of business emphasizes on you in terms of having utmost sincerity, utmost carefulness, utmost seriousness while handling the business, and the person shows otherwise round or the other way round altogether, then that is a chance of getting into risk or a peril factor. That's why we say that. Now let's say that you are running a trucking business, you are running a logistics business where the drivers have to behave properly, they have to drive the truck with seriousness, but then we find it that the drivers are not taking any importance and they are driving the trucks rashly, or they are found driving with an influence of alcohol, then automatically they are bound to create accidents which will cause a loss to the company as well as to the insurance organization. So carelessness is one serious cause that can go ahead and create severe damages. Followed by an insured may have always been uncompromising and a litigation minded. I am interested to create a case, I am interested to create a controversy, and I want to see that everybody who's associated with me will also land up in controversy. Now this will be a serious problem, this will be a serious issue altogether. So that's why he may refuse to accept the amount offered by the insurers and the press for an unreasonable amount. So now what happens? He may refuse to accept the amount. I don't want this money. Rather, I will take you to the media. I will take you to the court and demand more money from you. So at that point, at that time, what happens here is that this becomes a serious issue. This becomes a serious factor altogether. These kind of incidents will put the insurance in a back foot. Followed by distinction between physical and the moral hazards of insurance. Physical hazard relates to subject matter of insurance, whereas moral hazard relates to character, integrity, and mental attitude. So one side we are talking about the presence, the other side we are talking about character and integrity. Physical hazard can be seen, assessed, and rated accordingly because they are evidently present. They are automatically there. They are inherently present. So you can see it, you can assess it, and you can rate it accordingly. But moral hazards cannot be seen, cannot be assessed, or they cannot be rated because they are more related to the behavior of the person. So this is why the physical and the moral hazards have a clear-cut distinction. Followed by while the physical hazard can be effectively known, they can be dealt with by applying an excess franchising loading or the condition, moral hazards cannot be checked and controlled by any such method. Only thing, you have to be very cautious, you have to be very, very clear in terms of selecting, and the underwriting is the only possible method. So in most of the physical hazards, the insurance companies know how to safeguard them. They will give them extra precautionary orders. They will give them extra guidelines in case of how to handle the situation, how to take forward to protect themselves as well as the companies. But in the case of moral hazards, we will not be able to meet it. Why? Because we cannot calculate the mind and the attitude of the person. So the only way to control there is to go through underwriting, be extremely cautious and be extremely careful in terms of providing an insurance coverage. With this, I come to the end of this particular session. I hope and believe that all the information shared through this particular session will be of a great help and resource to you. In the upcoming session, we shall talk more about the hazards and the different conditions in general insurance. But until then, stay tuned, stay blessed, and stay enlightened forever. Thank you once again for joining me today on this wonderful session.